Good evening, everyone. It sometimes takes me longer to get up here than it does to give the talk, so you'll have to forgive me tonight. I was just reflecting recently. I've been a journalist for 56 years now. I've been a television broadcaster for the past 12. And my special subjects are really politics and the royal family. And sometimes they mix together and sometimes they don't. And I was just thinking recently, what brought all the nations together at the Queen's funeral? Now, when I was doing the Queen's funeral, I was doing it for a Sky channel. As I can testify, and you can probably still see the bags under my eyes, we were on broadcast for 6 hours and 40 minutes. That's a long time in broadcasting. We had 10 minutes for orange and biscuits, and that was our sort of main sustainable. And what I was looking at was, why do people come together? What are people seeking in this world? And how can television and communication systems create peace? And I think that's very, very important, because when I first was raised, I can remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, a thing called Telstar. My parents had just bought a television. It was an old black and white set. And for the first time, my father allowed me up after my sort of bedtime to watch this first broadcast from New York to London. And I'm thinking, my goodness, we can now see what's going on in New York. The world has got a lot smaller in communication terms. And I think the reality nowadays as well is that events like the royal family are events that bring the whole nations together as well. And I saw it, and at the start, I started, I think it happened on the Wednesday, and nobody was more shocked than me. I was doing my political bit because I was listening to Prime Minister's Question Time when suddenly the speaker said, we have commiserations for the royal family and a citation. And I flew out of my sort of slumber of listening to Prime Minister's Question Time and wondering what's going on. Unfortunately, within a very short space of time, I'd already known that the Queen had passed away. And so within hours, I was getting calls from across the world because what does the royal family mean to a lot of people? It means inclusion. It means family. Sometimes peace. Sometimes I haven't always been really in favor of some of the things that have happened with the royal family and have said so. And I think, during those times, you wonder, in reality, are they looking at a future themselves? For me, the future is that we all come together. We all come together. We all create value in our lives. The thing I love about journalism is you can affect so many people just by a simple message, just by sort of changing and showing people respect. So many years ago now, at that time, I was asked by some of the government organizations in London, could I start bringing together communities, showing the value of communities, showing respect to communities, showing how communities have actually really helped to build Britain today. And I think that is such an important message. And when I look at the values that communities have brought to Britain, they're immense. I'm proud to know you all tonight. I'm proud to sort of see how many people have come tonight from different countries, from different denominations, because this is how we get things done. And I think the reality, is that bringing people together, bringing communities together. And sometimes I had some, what I would call some strange bedfellows, nothing personal in the way of religion, but I started creating cross-fertilization between an Islam channel and a Christian channel. And at first, they were wondering where all this was going. But over a period of time, this became a very valued opportunity for them both to be talking about the things that really bring us together. As the ladies in the audience know tonight as well, I'm a biggest feminist. I fight for females a lot as well, and you know what I think women can bring to the world. And no disrespect to the gentlemen here, but I think if more women as well were sort of seen to be in places of power, then perhaps we could be a slightly more happier generation at the same time. And I think for me. When I see what is going on in this world right now, we need peace. We need organizations like this organization that will bring value to all people. And there's no constraints. And that's one of the biggest values of UPF. There's no constraints over how people, their religions, their views on things. It's an all-encompassing church of values. And I think, the reality at the moment is this is what's really necessary to bring people together, to bring young people together. At the moment, I look to the future. And so, I get young people saying to me now, oh, you've got to go to fast channels. And I said, okay, well, what's a fast channel? And they're saying, you don't know what a fast channel is? No, I don't know what a fast channel is. And it's a modern communication system that is really the future of television as I know it as well. And I think, with my colleague Helen Ashard, what we were looking at recently was how do we, because we value our royal family, but how do we create something that will highlight her life, her views, and her values? What is the type of thing that would globally work? So I'm happy tonight to just to say we're going to launch the Peace TV channel. And thank you. And the Peace TV channel will have centres in Sydney, in Beirut, in New York, and London initially, and we hope that with people like yourselves, we may be able to sort of create further centres in different countries across the world as well. And the primary aim to start off with is, I virtually can't see anybody my age, but there used to be a thing called pen pals. And pen pals used to be a system where, school children from different countries could talk to each other. So our aim, first of all, is to create the modern version of pen pals. So we can actually bring different school children from different countries, and they can talk about their lives. They can talk about their ambitions. They can talk about what they want, because basically they are our future. They are our hope. They are our means of actually creating peace. I go back a long time in politics and in history as well. And I was one of the first Western journalists to be allowed into Moscow after Perestroika. And at that time, I was thinking, what am I going to expect? Because all the way through my young years, we were told about the Iron Curtain. We were told about, if you go beyond the Iron Curtain, that's it. You'll never see Western society again. When I went there, I couldn't have met a more affable, wonderful people. So in my world, people don't cause problems. And so, and when you can communicate people together in peace, then peaceful solutions can be found as well. And I think, as I moved on, I moved into politics. I have this great interest in politics. And so for my sins, I became a spin doctor at one time at Number 10. And I worked behind the scenes with John Major's government and started helping to create the right ambience for that government at that time. And I think nowadays, using those same skills, basically nowadays, the world is all about messaging now. It's all about getting the message across, the simple message across, that actually is effective and memorable at the same time. And a very quick story, and it's a royal story, so you'll have to forgive me, because obviously that's one of the things I do. And about 8 or 9 years Prince George had just been born. And I was called to NBC. I worked for the big American channels as well. So I was called to NBC, and they said, we want you to comment on some photographs. This is the first official photographs. Bearing in mind, just to explain to you, I did Prince William's first baby shots with Charles and Diana. So I was a commissioned raw photographer before I moved into broadcasting. And so these photographs came up, and they were terrible. They were so bad, I won't say the exact words, but the phrase almost, to paraphrase the phrase, it was Mr. Smart Person, and they didn't use the word person. What are you going to say about this then? Because they were out of focus, they were terrible technically, physically, and these are supposed to be the official photographs that go out right across the world. And it turned out that Kate's father had taken them on his iPhone. So I managed to meander through that situation at NBC. I'm coming out of NBC, the BBC is ringing up, and so for the rest of the night, till about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the BBC, I'm talking to all the worldwide channels, BBC News, and they're all saying, you've got to hammer these pictures. You can't say for 1 second these pictures are any good at all. For goodness sake, don't ever even utter the words, there's anything interesting about them. And at the same time, I had colleagues and people very high up in the palace saying, please find anything at all that is good about these photographs, because they were in what we call a bunker position. They were getting calls from all over the world saying, what on earth are you putting these photographs out for? I get 2 hours sleep, and then the following morning I'm on breakfast television. Same thing applies. The presenters are saying to me, you can't say anything good about these photographs. You mustn't say anything good about these photographs because this is a terrible situation that has developed. And yet at the same time, ringing in my ears is the palace saying, for goodness sake, find anything at all that is interesting about these photographs. And so I'm on set, 6:15 in the morning, and they're saying to me, you've really got to pan these photographs. Don't say anything good about these photographs at all. So I'm listening to this, and also the voice in my head saying, the palace is saying, for goodness sake, just find anything. And I'm looking at these photographs, and I suddenly realize the only person that looks half decent is Kate. So anyway, so they introduced me, Ian Pelham-Turner, former royal photographer, blah, blah, blah. You can't say these photographs are any good. And I said, I do agree with you that technically, talk about an understatement, that technically these photographs were not the best photographs. But then this phrase came into my head, and it's basically, this is what I do. I create sound bites as well. But the phrase that came into my head and that came out of my mouth was, only a father could take the look of love in Kate's eyes. Even the camera crew went, and I knew I'd got them, because that within minutes went right across the world. So powerful messaging can create peace as well, is the point that I was making about this at the same time. And I think, when I look at all you ladies and gentlemen tonight, we're here for a purpose. We're here to communicate with each other. We're here to talk to each other. We're here to actually show the values as well. So I'm very pleased to be talking to you tonight. You'll have to forgive me because my voice is still rather strained from 10 days of doing all this, but I hope that the message I want to give out tonight is that UPF really does bring peace to this world, and it should be encouraged. Thank you.